Here we are on the front of our Thor Magnitude LV35. This is a Super C type model unit. We're going to be doing a walkthrough on it like you would get with a technician on a data delivery. So a tutorial going through everything on this unit and giving you a few tips along the way as far as how the operation of some of these components go and where they're located. If you want more information or a deeper dive on some of these components, or if your unit varies from the name brand that is in there, you can find more information on that under our HAPS Helpful Hacks playlist on our Great American RV YouTube channel. So we'll start in the front here. Obviously we have our diesel engine. This is on an F600 chassis. Ford chassis, it is diesel. We have DEF, all that stuff. Our regular components that are under the hood are still going to be here, not much different. And we will have regular owner maintenance on this just like we would on our normal vehicle. On the driver's side of our unit, of course, we're going to have our side camera right here that will activate when we turn our blinkers on, so changing lanes will be a little bit easier. Our first compartment is just storage. Our second compartment is going to be our Onan 6000 generator, diesel generator, and then also, of course, we're going to have our DEF fill right there. Now, as far as our generator goes, we are going to see we have an hour meter right here, our start-stop button. We do want to prime our generator before we start it. If you start it from the outside, we're just going to hold down that stop button until that red light kicks on. We're going to hear that pump prime up, and then we can go ahead and start it after we prime that system. Now, colder weather will take a little bit longer to prime before it'll start, and then we can go ahead and get it cranked up. Now, we do have an alert system on here. That red light, if anything fails and there's a code thrown, that red light will blink. Now, it'll blink and then pause and then blink again, generally giving you a 2-digit code. So you want to count the first 2 blinks, let it pause, count the second 2 blinks, put those 2 numbers together, and generally you'll have your code from there and give you an idea of what may be wrong with the unit in the event that happens. Of course, we have our oil fill, our coolant fill right there on the side. General maintenance is going to be required on this unit. We're going to keep track of that by our hour meter on there. All that stuff's going to be found in your owner's manual as far as when you need to change your oil and other maintenance on this unit. Now, we do have a breaker right there. That is going to be a 30 amp breaker. That 30 amp breaker may trip if you overload your system. So if you're working off of your generator power and all of a sudden you lose power on the inside of your unit, but all of your inside unit breakers are fine, then you want to come out here and check and make sure this breaker isn't tripped. If so, turn off some of your appliances on the inside, come out here, flip it back on, and then go start operating some of your appliances maybe one by one so it doesn't get tripped again. We pull off of that and we go, our next little small compartment will be our diesel fill right here for our engine and generator. All of that's going to come out of that same fuel tank. And then of course we have our Suburban tankless water heater right here. We'll go over a little bit of operation on that on the inside, but know that that is where it's located. It's going to need 12 volts and propane, of course, to operate. Here we have our next compartment. Our next compartment is obviously our sewage station. This is where we would dump. We have a hot, cold rinse shower head in here. Pretty self-explanatory there. But we also have this hose connection right here, and that is our black tank flush. That comes into play whenever we are dumping our system. Now we have 2 valves, our gray valve and our black valve. Our gray valve is going to be for our gray tank. So that's shower water and sink water going into that tank. If you have a hose connection hooked up and a port there at the campsite, you leave that valve open all the time, let that water drain out so you don't have to keep coming to empty it. Now our black tank, however, that is solids and everything, our sewage from our toilet that's going in there. We always want to keep several gallons of water in that tank. That way we can ensure those solids don't dry up in there. When it does come time to dump, we hook our sewer hose up to that connection at the port, and then we pull that valve, let everything start dumping. At which time we take a water hose, hook it up to our black tank flush. That's going to lead to a jet port on the other side of that tank, help start pushing any debris that might be left in there down to this valve and help flush out that system. Whenever you're satisfied with your flush, you can go ahead and turn off your black tank flush, close this valve right here. You want to go on the inside, hold the pedal down on that toilet and add several gallons of fresh, clean water to this tank. Then add your chemicals in there, and it will degrade whatever little components might still be left. Of course, while you're driving down the road, that water is going to slosh around and clean that tank up a little bit, your chemicals will help take care of whatever else may be in there and keep it smelling nice. Now we want to do that, and we always want to leave that water in there, or some fresh water if we decide to dump it in, but we always want to keep several gallons of water in that tank. We have some other pro tips as far as flushing out your black tank. You can find it in that Haps Helpful Hacks section on our YouTube channel. This is rotational too, by the way. If you grab this and pull it up, you can go ahead and put your cover and insert it back in right there. To the right of that is going to be our city water connection. This is if we do have a hose bib at the campsite. We hook up right there with that hose, and then we have water supplied to all of our fixtures on the inside. Next compartment is just going to be storage. Then we have our little small compartment right there for our secondary diesel tank. So you do have 2 fuel tanks on this system. We're going to have our cable hookup. If we're there at the campground, they have cable, run our coax here, and it will go to our coax ports on the inside of our unit, and we can scan for cable channels. 50 amp twist lock connection, we put it in there, turn it to the right. We tighten up our retainer ring right here to keep it from falling out. Kids like to play with things, prevent the temptation of it just falling out. We always want to make sure we plug this in first and lock it in before we plug it into our shore power over there. That way we can reduce any arcing on this plug. This will also reduce any damage to this plug or anything like that. We also want to make sure that our AC systems are off before we plug in and out of our shore power. Up above that is going to be our freshwater tank. We pull that cap off, stick a water hose in there, and we can fill our onboard water storage. Our onboard water storage is used when we are at a campsite or we're traveling and we need water and we don't have a hose connection to hook it up at. We fill that tank, we can monitor it from our panel on the inside as far as how much is in there, turn our water pump on, and then that will go ahead and supply us with water there wherever we're at. In our last compartment right here, we do have storage in here all the way through, pass through for large storage. On the back of our unit, of course, we have our backup camera to see behind us while we're backing up. We can also use it while we're traveling down the road to see what's behind us, and if we're towing a trailer or car or whatever behind us, we can have that option too. We're also going to have our 7-way plug and our receiver hitch right there for that towing, and that is available from the factory. And then we're also going to have our factory supply ladder. A factory supply ladder is very important because we need to gain access to our roof. We have a rubber roof up there. We're going to have vents and stuff. We're going to have sealant that seals all those vents, your trim rail, your end caps, all that stuff. Well, that has to be maintained, and it's considered customer maintenance to take care of that stuff. We're also going to have sealant around fixtures and stuff around our unit, maybe where the ladder is screwed in, where we have components screwed into the wall, around windows, stuff like that. We need to check the sealant around all that trim and stuff too. Once again, every 60 to 90 days. We're looking for any cracking, peeling, deterioration of that sealant. We need to clean it, reseal it with the proper sealant. It's also great to gain access to that roof after trips to make sure no low-lying tree limbs have poked any holes in our rubber, allowing any water entry. We need to wash that roof a couple times a year too. That'll help you be able to inspect the sealant around there as well a little bit better. Once again, customer maintenance to take care of your sealant on your unit, whether you have it in a cover in a garage or out in the sun, you need to check that sealant, make sure it's taken care of, because it's probably the #1 thing that customers don't take care of enough, and manufacturers don't participate in those kind of repairs if we're not maintaining our unit properly. On our entry door, we are going to have some powered steps right here. Those steps can go in and out when we open and close that door, or they can stay put. All of that is done by our switch right here on the inside. Right now it was off, so those steps would stay out. Now that switch is on, and our steps will now go in. Now, if we happen to leave it off, we crank up our engine and we're ready to hit the road, those steps will automatically come in if this door is closed as a nice safety feature so they don't get ripped off. Here on the passenger side, we do have our side camera right there that'll activate once again with our blinker. We have our first compartment on this side that is going to house our inverter. That inverter system right there is going to convert 12-volt power to 110 power so you can run some of your 110 components without the use of a shore power. There is a monitor on the inside on how that operates, so we'll go over that when we get in there. Our next compartment after our entry door is going to be our batteries. These are our wet cell batteries for our house side of things. This is going to be separate from our chassis. Our chassis has its own battery, and the house side does too, to work all of your 12-volt components on the inside. We can see we do have a couple of breakers in here. Those are going to operate things like our hydraulics and everything. And then we're also going to have some 12-volt blade fuses in here as well. We can always come here to check fuses. If something's not working, we're going to have some more inside. We'll show you the location of that as well. These are, once again, wet cell batteries. We have these caps right here. Those caps need to be removed every now and again, and we need to add distilled water whenever needed to ensure that the water level is above our lead plates on the inside, and so that they're maintained properly and they don't get burned up. That, once again, is considered owner maintenance, so we need to take care of that on a regular basis. Our next compartment to the left of that is going to be our propane. Our propane does have our fill gauge right there to let us know how much is in it, or on an off valve right there, generally turned off whenever you are storing your unit or not using your propane. Above that is going to be the two components used for filling that tank. In our outdoor entertainment, we have our Connex TV right here that also has the feature for radio and everything on it too. So we don't have outside speakers or outdoor radio. Everything's in there. We can Bluetooth our phone to it, play stuff through it. We have a little information on Connex TVs. Helpful hacks playlist on our Great American RV YouTube channel. Right behind our axle, we're going to have another storage compartment right there. And then to the left of that, we're going to have a quick connect for our LP station. Now this will pull right off of that tank we have there in the front. And if we have a little grill or something we want to hook up to here, we can put that quick connect in. This valve will need to be off in order for this quick connect to work and be connected. Once you do that, we turn that valve on. That way the gas will actually flow out. We go to disconnect, we have to turn that valve off. Next compartment up to the left of that is going to be a quick connect for a water hose. So we have our blue coiled hose right here. Male connection, we can quick connect into that and have a spray port with us out here on the side. Here we have our Dometic furnace, 12 volts to power it up, propane to heat that air on the inside. That'll work off our thermostat that we'll cover a little bit later. And then of course more access to our pass-through bay there in the back. Let's go over some information about our 12-volt awning. Now our awning here is a one-touch system. You hit our button right inside the door, it will extend. One touch, it will retract as well. It is equipped with a wind sensor on it, so if the winds get too high, that awning starts shaking a little bit, it's automatically going to pull itself in. One thing we don't want to do is leave it out during extreme storms or anything like that and run the risk of it blowing out. So use it for a sunshade mainly, that's about it. You're leaving your camper for an extended time, roll it in. You don't want to completely rely on just that wind sensor. If we do that and a big storm comes in, high winds, consistent winds, that thing can still blow off. Manufacturers aren't going to cover that as a manufacturer warranty repair. It'll still be filed under your insurance. So when in doubt, go ahead and pull it in. Certainly don't want to leave it out for heavy rains. As we walk into our entry door to the left, we're going to notice that step on off button that we talked about for our electric steps. We're going to have our manual battery disconnect to the right of it. That is to disconnect those house batteries in that first compartment after the door if we store our unit unplugged. If we have our unit plugged in or we're using it, we have it in storage, whatever the case may be, if it's plugged in or the generator's running, we want to make sure that switch is on so our converter system will actually be charging up those house batteries. To the right of that, we have our touch panel for a bunch of our lights. We have stepwell lights, which are going to control these lights down here. Our living room ceiling lights controlling our, obviously, living room and ceiling. Cargo lights, our awning lights off and on. Our extend and retract button for our awning. Like I said, one touch, we hit retract and that awning is rolling in. We have our light master on and our light master off, which is just going to turn off and on all the lights that are connected to that system. To the right of that, we have our inverter system we talked about in that first compartment. This is going to change 12-volt power from our house batteries, one's in that first compartment right there, to 110 power to some of our components on the inside. So we can operate some of that stuff for as long as those batteries will allow us to. Now this will go ahead and give us the current voltage of the battery system, and of course whether or not we are inverting. We can turn it off and on right here for that inverter system to kick in. Then we have a few other settings in there that we can change as far as the operation of that goes. But it's pretty plug and play. Just kick it on and start inverting and you got 110 power without the use of a generator or shore power. Up above our sofa to the right, as soon as we walk in, of course, we're going to have our leveling system. We'll go over some more information on that right now. Here we have our electronic leveling system for our motorized unit. We turn it off and on with that power button. Initially on the first screen, you're going to see your battery voltage for your house batteries and the position that the jacks are in, which are up at this moment. Now, if we want to go straight into auto leveling, we're there at the campsite. Of course, our ignition will be on and our park brake will have to be activated for this system. Once it is, it will power up, and then we can hit our auto level and our jacks will begin to level out the unit. Now, during this process, we want to make sure we're not moving around a lot in our unit. If at all, if anything, activate it, step outside your unit, and let it do its job. So once it's done, we'll see auto level success right there on the screen, and we'll see that green light blinking in the middle, letting you know everything is ready to go. From that point, that system will turn off on its own. You can just leave it be and go about setting up everything at your campsite. Now we'll go ahead and run through some of the other options on this system. When we are ready to retract, we can just hold down that retract button right there for a couple seconds, and then it will automatically start retracting our jacks. Once everything is fully retracted, that light will stop blinking and you'll be ready to roll. Now, we do have a safety feature when we crank our ignition up and put it in drive. If our jacks are still down, the system will automatically begin to retract those jacks. So now we can see that our jacks are up. Now, rolling through the menu right here, if we hit our first arrow down, it's an auto retract, hit enter to begin. It's the same thing as holding this button down for a couple seconds for it to initiate on its own. Our next option will be manual level, in which case we can use these options, these front, left, right, and rear to level the unit out ourselves. If we wanted to do that, we hit that enter button. We can hold that button down and our jacks will begin to extend out. We can see right here, we have our manual mode, our front and our left to right. That's going to show our degree marks on how off level we are. So right now, just to show you, we'll lower the front. Our front is now level. As we raised it, we kind of overshot it a little bit. So we can hit our retract button real quick and bump it down until we hit that 0 mark. Of course, we were already pretty close to level prior to getting this thing started. Now, if we do see a tremendous pitch in the unit, where something is very, very off level or outside of what that bubble would be with a 4-foot level, we'll see that indicated right here. With these blinking lights, we can see that our right and our rear are actually low. So it's just a good little cheater to let you know, hey, these are the areas of concentration that we need to go ahead and lift up. Manual mode is also good if we have like a door that's just barely swinging after we've hit our auto level. We can go into that manual mode and just tweak it a little bit. It's going to auto level your unit, but it's not going to be exactly perfect when it comes to your doors and stuff all the time. That wraps up everything on the control center here. Now we'll go show you where the pump is located on this system as well. So our hydraulic system for this unit is going to be under the rear, below, right behind the axle. See, our jacks are extended right here. On the unit itself, we can see our reservoir where our hydraulic fluid is stored. We can also notice our solenoids and everything right there. Now, we will have a video on how to override this system in the event that these jacks are stuck and how we can go ahead and retract them. We'll have that up in our Helpful Hacks playlist here before long. But know that whenever we are checking the fluid on this, we only want to check it and refill it if needed when our jacks are completely retracted. If we do it when they're extended, we will overfill this system when you retract them. Of course, it's going to make a big old mess. Now, we are going to have, once again, 12-volt power running in here. That's going to go to our solenoid right here. We see that red wire. That's going to come from our house batteries over there. We have that main breaker inside that house battery compartment that is for. We're also going to see one blade fuse right there. That is going to link to our touch panel on the inside. All right, so in our driver's seat, going to be pretty similar to any Ford unit. We have our power windows right here, our power mirrors off to the side, and then we also going to have our door lock and unlock. Now here we have all of our lights, automatic on, parking lights, adjustment dimmers for our dash, our cargo light switch, our emergency brake down here at the bottom. We have to pull it up to turn it on, push it to turn it off. We have our pedal adjustments right there. And then we're also going to have that emergency start right there. Emergency start is used if our chassis battery is dead. That will basically use a solenoid to put a set of jumper cables from our house batteries to our chassis batteries in order to help it start. On our steering wheel, of course, we have our cruise control settings and everything on there and some other menu items. We have our phone Bluetooth. We can go ahead and make calls, hang up calls, so on and so forth. Our regular Ford dash system, we're not going to take a deep dive into that. but just know it operates just like a Ford. You will have a Ford manual in there to go over more information on that system. Biggest question a lot of people are going to ask is, how do I hook up my Bluetooth to my vehicle? So we'll go ahead and show you how that's going to be done. The easiest way to get to our Bluetooth, we are on our home screen right here. If we're connecting a new phone, we hit phone there at the bottom. We can hit add phone. Now it's going to be searching. We're searching now also on our phone and looking for that F600 Ford system, and then we would go ahead and pair with that system. Once we paired, of course, our audio will be hooked up, our phone will be hooked up, all of that stuff. You are going to have CarPlay as an option on this system as well as Android Auto if you have an Android phone. Some of this stuff can be connected through our USB down there at the bottom. And then we're also, of course, going to have volume control knobs down here and tune if we want to change a station. That screen isn't the same on there. Now, as far as backup camera goes, that's where our mirror up here is for. That is going to give us our backup as well as our turn signals. Have our left turn right there and our right turn. And so that will go ahead and activate with our blinkers. We can also adjust from here some of the settings and everything as far as lighting and so on and so forth. Now, if we just want to turn that system on and monitor it while we are traveling down the road, we can do that. We power it up, we hit that V1, V2 button right there, and that will cycle through the different cameras that we have in that system. Further down here, we do have our four-wheel drive option in here, and then also, once again, USB charging. We have brake control in this unit as well. And then we're also going to have up here lights for all of our lights here in the cabin, auxiliary switches to be able to hook up any other accessories. But basically, it's built just like a regular Ford truck. So if you're familiar with that system, you know what to do. If not, that owner's manual is in there for all of the Ford related items. On our front bunk area, of course, we do have a TV right here, our 110 outlet there on the side. We have that front windshield right there. Of course, whenever nighttime comes around and you want some privacy, over there to the left by our dinette booth, we have a button we can go ahead and push. At 12-volt motor, we'll go ahead and run that cover down for it. Now, we'll also have access to our front cabin area. We would go ahead and put this down when we need to sleep. When we want access to all of that, just go ahead and flip it up. Now, you're also going to have a ladder you can latch on the front of that to be able to easier access up top. But go ahead and have it clear and open. That way you can get in and out of your driver and passenger seat. Now, with that TV, we're going to have the option for cable, which we talked about, our cable hookup out there. We scan for our cable channels. All we got to do is make sure that coax is hooked up on the back of our TVs, wherever that location is. Same coax port, we're also going to have an antenna option as well. And our antenna has a boost. That boost is going to be located up in this cabinet right here. We've got a little button. We'll show you when we detach it. That button's right there. We have that little green light. Hit that button off and on. That green light turns off and on. So that's our antenna boost. We want to turn that on when we are searching for antennas so we can pick up more channels in the area. But if we have cable, we want to make sure that's off so it doesn't scramble the channels from the campground. Over on the passenger side, of course, we have recliners, pull cable. They're not electric recliners. Pull that cable to go ahead and manually recline back. Behind our dinette booth, we're also going to have switches turn off like our sofa lights, a living room ceiling lights, our accent lights, all those different controls available right there. And then once again, that switch that we talked about to open and close that front piece over the windshield. We're also going to have our dinette booth that can fold down into a bed area as well. That's done with a little latch here at the bottom. We pull that latch. We can go ahead and push our table down. Of course, we'll have our seated cushions right here out of the way, so this can drop all the way down. Take our back cushions, put them on top, and then we have more bed space. To go ahead and put it back, lift that table all the way up, grab that handle, pull it over to the right, and it's locked in. Well, let's take a look at that handle so you know what we're talking about here. Handle is just this little piece right here. We're pulling it down to disengage it, move that thing up and down. Then when we want to re-engage, we go ahead and push it up. All we're doing is locking it into that little space on the rail. Here we have our refrigerator. This one is a 110 volt GE refrigerator. Question is, while we're traveling down the road, how do we operate it? Because it is 110, right? So in that case, we want our inverter running and operating, emitting 12 volts to 110 so our refrigerator can stay on. Now, while that's happening, our alternator on our engine is also charging those house batteries while we're traveling down the road, and we're using the power from it. So we're good as far as power is concerned from that. Otherwise, we're running our generator, or we're plugged into shore power. Now, off and on, our temperature control, very common system. Same thing for our fridge. This is our freezer. This is going to control both settings right there. And then we are also going to have an ice maker in there as well. We do have a travel latch on here. It's very important we put that travel latch on, keep our goods from flying out of our unit, of course. Now, when we go to store our unit, we turn everything off. We turn our fridge off. We get our items out of it because we're storing it. It's very important we also defrost that freezer, wipe it down, get any water that's in there out. Same thing for our fridge. We want to reduce the opportunity for mold and mildew to develop in there, but also the opportunity for water to leak out and damage any of our wood components around our fridge, because manufacturers aren't going to participate in that kind of repair. It's considered customer maintenance, defrost and clean out our refrigerator properly. Another tip is after we've done all that, go ahead, flip that latch around, just leave those doors cracked open so they can air out properly, and that will help keep them from getting musky and everything as well. So here we have our main home screen for our touchscreen panel. We have our light master off and on, just like the one right there by our door. We have our shade open and closed, which will control that front windshield shade. We have our front and rear temperatures for our two AC systems. We have all of our tanks, our fresh tank, which is that onboard storage we talked about, our gray tank, our black tank, and of course our LP system. Now, our fresh tank is going to add extra weight to our unit, so don't feel the need to fill that thing all the way up. Just take what you need, and if you're not using it, go ahead and empty it out. Our gray tank, black tank, we talked about where that water comes from our shower and sink to the gray, and then of course our toilet to our black tank, and then of course our LP we already know. Our water pump system is going to pull that fresh water into our pipe system and out to our faucets with that from that onboard fresh tank storage. And if we do have city water connection, we leave that water pump off. We don't want to operate that while that city water is on. If we are operating with our water pump and pulling from that fresh tank system, be aware this is an on-demand pump. So as we use our faucets, we're going to hear that pump running. When we turn them off, you're going to hear that pump shut off shortly after. If you hear the pump continuously run and you know that all of your systems are shut off, you want to investigate, because either your fresh tank is empty or you have a leak in your system. Either way, you want to turn that water pump off and go ahead and investigate so it doesn't burn it up. Down below that, we're going to have our house and chassis batteries and the current voltage of those two items. Of course, when we're plugged in, we're going to see our voltage at 13.8 on that system. Our engine is running right now, so 14.2 for our chassis, pulling off the alternator there. Those systems will be charging up whenever we're plugged in or we're running our generator. Now, we also are going to have that generator option. Start, stop. It is automatically going to prime when you hold down that start button, and it'll automatically prime just like we talked about outside and activate the start on that system. To the right of all our tanks and stuff, we have that tank heat option. Those are 12-volt mats that heat up those tanks in extreme cold weather. We want to kick those on so it doesn't freeze the liquid that's in those tanks. Here we have our AGS system. If we go ahead and click that, this is going to enable that system, and that is an automatic generator start. You would have to hold this down for 3 seconds. It kicks in and brings us to our menu. Now, automatic generator start is used for certain periods, like maybe you're leaving your unit away for a while and you're not plugged in, or you just want to provide regular maintenance on your generator by running it and exercising it. That can all be done here based on whatever your needs are. If you're worried about your voltage going low, you want that system to kick on and charge those batteries for a little while, you can set the start voltage. You can run different options like that. You can run your quiet time, as far as if you don't want it to run at night, it'll hold off until the morning. You can run how long you want that generator to run or how short a period of time you want it to run. And it can all change by just hitting the plus and minus buttons right here, according to how you want that system to run. Now, we can also put here as far as what we want to actually trigger that. So whether it be our voltage or our HVAC system. Of course, we would have to understand our warning right here. Yes, based on whatever your temperature is set on your thermostat, that system will kick that generator on whenever necessary to meet those needs. We also have our generator hours right there as well. If we want to disable those systems, we just go ahead and click them, turn them off, We have our AGS disabled right there. If you want to enable it, once again, we hold down 3 seconds and it will enable that system, and it will abide by whatever rules you have stated there on that menu. Now currently, the other option we had on our main screen was Go Solar. We go to here. This is going to give us more information on that solar system and what our current bulk charge is from the solar, our history. It gives you a ton of information, probably more than what you want to know, but it will give it to you right here. We also have a setup option here for what type of batteries we have in our system. So if we change our batteries out from flooded to lithium or gel or anything like that, we want to go ahead and change that in the system and put the appropriate bank scale for those batteries in there as well, so it knows how to coordinate the voltage and what is necessary for that solar to charge those batteries. We had that battery 2 option, so it's based on what batteries you have or how many batteries you have in your unit. Now going back to our home screen, if we just went down 1, that's going to bring us to that AGS controls. Our 3rd one is going to bring us to all of our lights, turn them off and on there, or we hit that light master that we talked about there, and that will turn off and on some of the lights on your system. Our next one is going to be our thermostat for our 2 ACs. We have our rear thermostat and our front thermostat. This is our set temperature right there by our arrows. We can change that with the arrows there. And then we also have our current room temperature in our unit as well. We have what our unit is set to as far as our fan system. This one is high cool. You can see right here our cool mode is on. We're in auto fan, which means that fan turns off and on when the compressor turns off and on. If we want the fan to run all the time, we put it on high or put it on low, depending on what fan speed we want. Same thing on our rear AC. The thing that differs with these 2 units is our front AC and thermostat is going to control our furnace. Our furnace is going to be gas operated, and that is going to come out of the vents down on the floor line, only your cold air is going to come out of your sealing assembly and ducts there. When we activate our furnace, that furnace will shut our AC down. Our furnace will kick in and begin to heat our unit and use propane in order to do it. Down below that we have auto. Auto will go ahead and we work with this set temperature. So if we have fluctuating temperature wherever we're at, if it gets hot in the evening and warm and cold in the daytime or vice versa, we just set it at 66, and this will automatically swap between our furnace and our air conditioner to keep that 66-degree mark. Now your rear unit is just going to have the cool mode on it. Your front unit is going to control the furnace for your entire system. Down below that we have our fantastic fan in our mid bath and our kitchen. We hit that button and it goes ahead and turns those fans off and on. We can go ahead and open them up, one touch, click that button. Those vent lids will open up, and of course our fans are active. To go ahead and close them, hit that close button, they'll both close. We can turn our fans off on there as well. We have our slide control right there. Our slide is a Schwintek slide system. In order to extend and retract it, our ignition is going to have to be on, and our emergency brake will have to be on as well. Extend, retract, pretty self-explanatory as far as how that works. Our awning will be locked until we kill the ignition on our system. You can work your awning from here, or you can work it from the step switch there as well. Anything that is locked due to a failure, we can see that lock button right there, and this will tell you down here at the bottom what may or may not be activated in order for you to go ahead and find it, activate it, and then run your system. Last menu is our settings menu. We do have a mobile app we can download called Mira. If we download that Vega Touch Mira app on our app store, we can go ahead and scan in that QR code to find that and add our Mira ID as well as our PIN, and then we can access a lot of this stuff from the app on our phone. Also on here we have network diagnostics. This will cover some of our communication systems and tell you what's active as far as our touchscreen to our components. Now, this isn't something you really need to go into unless you're on the phone with a technician, either from Thor or us, letting you know, hey, I need you to go in here and look at this and see if it's active. Our other options on here is our switch panel info. This will tell you where all of those switch panels are to turn your lights off and on. We have one over by the dinette, one by our entry door, one in our bathroom, our kitchen, and of course our bedroom area. Tells you what the current battery level of all these items are. They do work off of batteries. You have to detach them, pull the battery off the back, and replace them, but it gives you the current value of that battery. Going back, we have our temperature units. We can change from Fahrenheit to Celsius if we wish. We have our current floor plan. No need to go into that because it's already set from the factory. Our screen brightness that we can change there. Our auto dimming, so that means that this system will dim and black out on its own, or we can leave it on all the time. We have cleaning mode. We click that. We can go ahead and clean our screen, and it will give us a countdown where we can access that panel again after we are cleaning it. And then of course we have our clock here. We can go ahead and adjust to change whatever time it is to the appropriate time. So we talked about our ACs. This is our front AC. Our rear AC is going to have the same assembly. Now on this assembly, you're going to have these two vents at each end that you can open and close. Those are our quick dump vents. If you want to cool just this area off fairly quickly, go ahead and open it up and it's going to push air out of there. If we want our air to work through our ceiling ducts up in our track system, we want to make sure those are closed. That way that air can be pushed through that system. Once again, for our furnace, that air is only going to come out of our lower vents, like the ones right here by our door, or everywhere else throughout our entire unit. We talked about our control panels too. Just pulled that one off the wall there. It's just a quick clip. Just pull it off. On the back, you'll see this piece right here. That's where your battery goes. We looked at our battery levels in there. That is what it is focused on. We have a CR2032 that powers up these panels. Slip a new one in there. If it ever dies, click it back onto the wall. Also here in our kitchen, we have our microwave with our exhaust fan built into here. If we want to exhaust while we're cooking, we can go ahead and do that. We have our true induction cooktop right here. It's going to take the special pot and pan to be able to put on there for it to induct heat to that pot and pan. Then off to the right, we have our gas option over there. Real easy to operate. Just push that knob down, turn it to the flame icon right there. It's going to click until that system lights. Then we can go ahead and turn from high to low and operate that system. Now with our propane, generally you're going to turn that propane off when you store it. What can happen is that propane that's left in the line will eventually dissipate and you'll end up with air in that system. This can also happen whenever we run out of propane, we can end up with air in our system too. So before we activate things like our furnace or our water heaters and stuff like that, best thing to do after you turn that propane back on for the first time is come over here and light your stovetop. It's the quickest, easiest place to bleed the air out of the system, and it's not going to go into a fault. Your other items that work on propane will definitely go into a fault if there's air on the lines, because it's only going to try to light so many times before it hits that fault. So quick, easy instruction, come over here and bleed the air out at your stovetop before you work anything else. Our little panel we showed you right there with the battery system has our living room, our water pump, our kitchen, our hall, dinette, our up and down for that vent system. Same thing we showed you on our touchscreen option right there. We could turn that fan off and on, and then also lift and open that vent lid. So you'll see a lot of redundancy throughout the unit for different controls. All right, in our bathroom, pretty self-explanatory. We have our shower doors. We got a travel latch. Put it on during travel, right? We don't want those doors flying around and breaking, rollers coming off, all that stuff. Latch your travel latch whenever you hit the road. In our shower, our hot cold faucet, we'll have that shower head in there. We're also going to have our vent in this bathroom as well up above our head. That's controlled with our little panel right here. We can kick that vent on and ventilate out. Generally, you want to do this whenever you take a shower. That way you can get the heat and humidity out of here, reduce the chance for mold and mildew. Here we have our toilet, Dometic toilet. We hit that pedal right there, that flushes it and sends it down to our black tank. Now this system does have a macerator pump system, which basically means it chews up the sewage. All right, so you hit that pedal, activate it, you're gonna hear that macerator pump kick on, swallow it, and spit it down into our black tank and prepare it for dumping. Now, the only things we're putting in our toilet is number one and number two, which is liquids and solids, right, when it comes to sewage. And then we'll also have our RV toilet paper, which will decompose properly in our tank and be able to flush out that system a little bit better than Charmin or anything like that. That will actually clog things like our macerator pump and our valves on our tank. The other thing we want to put in here is chemicals. We'll go ahead and add our chemicals. We can fill our bowl up a little bit with water and add our chemicals and prepare it to be flushed down. Now, as far as our bowl goes, we can kick our water pump on and show you. When we use number one, we're just putting liquids in there, hit that pedal, send it on its way. Now, anytime we have solids we're putting in there, want to make sure there's water in that bowl about 1/2 to 3/4 of the way. Once it's there, we're ready to roll. Hit that pedal, send it goodbye. Over here we have our main GFCI outlet. So in all of our wet locations, outside, in the kitchen, in our bathroom, we're gonna have a GFCI protected outlet. We have those because it's a wet location. If it gets wet, it's gonna trip the breaker on this outlet. And if we overload it with things like coffee makers, griddles, hair dryers, all this stuff, it's gonna trip it right here too. Real simple system. You have 2 buttons on here, a test button and a reset button. If it trips it, come over here, hit that reset button, and it'll reactivate it. If it trips again right off the bat, we need to check those outlets, make sure that they're not wet, and also check and make sure we don't have too much stuff plugged in, overamping that system as well. Come back over here and try to reset it again. We have our Suburban tankless water heater. Let's take a closer look at that. For our Suburban tankless water heater system, you can just turn it off and on by hitting that power button right there, obviously. And we can set our temperature with our arrows right here to whatever our desired heated temp is. Now this system, not much to it besides those buttons, and then of course we can change from Celsius to Fahrenheit. But when you turn your water on, the system's going to run and there's nothing else to do with it. It's not going to give you any other notifications unless there is an error in the system. Turn your water on, let it run, and it will begin to heat up to that set temperature. So not too much to go over in our bedroom besides the fact that we do have our bed, right? Then we're also going to have not storage under our bed, but pretty much the brains of our unit. So we'll give you a show of that. That is our fresh tank right there. That is going to hold our onboard storage for our unit. We're also going to have a ton of controls in here. This is our converter system, our Go Power controller for our solar. That is a transfer switch right there. That changes between your generator and your shore power. We also have our controls for all of our touchscreen stuff in here. Really, everything's in here, but it's not something you really want to mess with unless it is suggested from the manufacturer. Now, the only thing I really want to show you here is this valve down here at the bottom right next to the tank. That is to drain the fresh tank system. We don't want to leave that water in there for an extended period of time because it will become stagnant. So just go ahead and open that valve every now and again and drain that system out. Besides that, at the foot of our bed, one thing we do want to know is there is our 110 breakers. Our 110 breakers are all labeled right there. So it's the first place we want to come to if any of our 110 components are not working. We're also going to have 12-volt components right here controlled by our 12-volt fuses. Once again, everything is labeled. We can come here if something is not working. We're also going to have our rear TV mount in here. That's all going to work off of that same antenna boost button we talked about in the front. We want on when we're scanning for antenna channels and off when we're scanning for cable. Over hidden in the corner, you have your bed, ceiling lights, hall lights. We can start and stop our generator from here, and of course our master on and off switch for our lights. Over here we have our Jensen radio system for the interior. That will go ahead and operate from there. We talked about our ceiling assembly. The one in the rear is going to be the same exact way. That wraps up everything on our magnitude.
Well, we hope you found that resourceful, but wait, there's more information on our Great American RV YouTube channel. This channel right here, find the playlist Hap's Helpful Hacks. We go over different products in this unit and we'll take a deeper dive with more diagnostics, more information, as well as helpful tips when you're out camping. Tell your buddies, tell your friends, like, share, subscribe, do all those awesome things on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you found us, and keep watching here at Great American RV Superstores, where we bring the how-to you.